It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for July 10th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, that Black Panther game got announced finally, and EA College Football wins a skirmish in court. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Kirkland Gray again. Kirk, how you doing?
I'm back on Game Mess Mornings. I'm back on Game Mess Mornings. I'm back on Game Mess Mornings.
Go!
I'm back.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? It's Kirk the Gamer. Subscribe to my YouTube. Back on Game Mess Mornings with Jeff Grubb, the one and only. How the heck did I get back here? I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with me blackmailing this man with an AI-generated voice recording that goes on for 6.5 minutes about how much better he thinks Sonic the Hedgehog is than Mario.
Listen,
that definitely did not happen.
You don't need
I
AI
brought that up for no
stuff to
specific reason.
I've said enough dumb stuff myself this entire time. That's good stuff. You
Probably not that though.
You were on last week for your first episode. I decided to have you back on this Monday.
Ago, yeah.
Was a couple weeks ago. Who can keep track of time?
Not me. No, not us. Yeah.
The last time I did a Monday show. That's right. We had Monday off last week. We'll have you back. And now, luckily, there's an EA court case for us to discuss. Once again, you're a legal professional is how I would describe you, right? Just to
sure. Yes.
And you're going to eventually take the bar, become a lawyer at some point. An aspiring lawyer is how we would describe it. Okay.
Yes. Gaming enthusiast.
And gaming enthusiast. But so yes, the cross sections are helping us out today. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, how's your turn to stardom after being on Game S Mornings last time? How have you enjoyed it?
I got about 60 or so followers on Twitter. That's new.
That's fun, right? Yeah.
I really want people to go over to my YouTube channel because I'm going to be making a bunch of content over there. But we can talk about that later when you let me do my shameless plugs. But yeah, no, it's been interesting just being able to find an audience and a great community that you've got with your folks over at Giant Bomb.
Yeah, it's some good kids out there watching this stuff. All right, let's get into this mess. But before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart, and for once, that's actually true. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with a new EA studio called Cliffhanger Games announced upcoming title based on Marvel's Black Panther. This comes from Marika Hashimoto at Marvel. As we celebrate the 57th anniversary of Black Panther's comic debut this July, we're thrilled to announce Cliffhanger Games, a new AAA development studio based in Seattle, is working on an original third-person single-player Black Panther game in collaboration with Marvel Games. Their mission is to build an expansive and reactive world that empowers players to experience what it is like to take on the mantle of Wakanda's protector, the Black Panther. Led by Kevin Stevens, formerly of Monolith Productions, Cliffhanger has already brought together accomplished talent with leaders from the critically acclaimed and innovative action-adventure game Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, along with veterans of top franchises including Halo Infinite, God of War, Call of Duty, and others. Kirk, this is a game that in the early days of Game S Mornings, I reported on that this was happening, and it turns out it's exactly how we said it was going to happen. Where it is former Shadow of Mordor developers starting a new studio under EA, and EA going out and getting that big Marvel Black Panther license. I think that's a pretty good fit. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. If they're gonna make this God of War to Shadow of Mordor, there's a pretty big chasm of experiences there, but both very good games. A lot of people feel like on both accounts they were each snubbed for Game of the Year awards and flowers in their own right. Shadow of Mordor in 2014, I think. So, both of those very, high quality experiences. A lot of people enjoyed them. They're recognized as good games. So if they've got members of those teams and involved in the creative direction with those involved in this, I think we can expect at least a decent game. We've been kind of getting there. Avengers didn't really make the cut. The Guardians game, that was a solid 8. A lot of outlets said that game was fine. The game was above average. It was enjoyable.
I really
so it feels like we're crawling our way to a very good Marvel game, and that's always exciting.
Yeah, it's right, and I see EA going back to the licensed game after struggling with Star Wars, but again we see that this is the direction most big games are headed in, or at least a significant portion of them. After that Harry Potter game and Star Wars did pretty well, and there's been a handful of others just this year that have really had strong starts, in part because of their IP. And it seems like these publishers are now willing to put the resources behind these projects in a way that they weren't before, even despite something like Marvel's Avengers being a huge game.
They weren't before. They weren't putting all their effort, resources before to make really, really good single player experiences. They didn't do that. I didn't know.
Not exactly. God, yeah, I grew up in a world where licensed games were famously terrible, always terrible. And
hey, as a 10-year-old, as a 10 or 12-year-old, I mean, come on, man. You know, like I'm running around as, Iron Man on the Xbox 360. Yeah, was that game Sega? Absolutely terrible? Yep. Was it dog water? Sure. Did I get to be Iron Man? Yes. Okay. That's priceless, Jeff. All right. That was worth the $12.99 at GameStop, you know?
As a 10-year-old, I really had the same experience with but it was with Captain America and the Avengers on the NES.
Dude, that game, I have that game.
Yes.
That game. Oh, yeah, I thought you were talking about the three different generations.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Data East game from the 1980s.
I have the 360 one that's based on the Chris Evans, the MCU. That game is like, I mean, it's bad, but it's not bad, like it's bad, but like it's bad.
I know exactly how you feel. I got a lot of games that are like that, but that Captain America plus the Avengers game is actually pretty good.
As usual, that's off topic.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. No, all good.
But yeah, this looks like it'll be really cool. I'm excited to see a fully fleshed out Black Panther game, and to your point, what you were saying earlier, I think we're about to enter, if we're not there already, sort of a renaissance or an era, a rekindling of the licensed game, the big IP game, which is, I mean, I'm excited for that. Like you say that all those games back in the day were kind of trash. There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of merit to that. But at the same time, like I kind of realized, over the last decade, I mean, we haven't had games that were like directly tied into movies or IP, like almost at all.
Yeah, they went to mobile.
All we've had, right? We've almost exclusively had like just video game IP, and it's gone the other direction, right? With varying degrees of success. But I think with Ubisoft's newly announced Star Wars game, I think with stuff like this, you mentioned Hogwarts Legacy, which was a big success despite other various controversial issues. I think these companies in times of, economic uncertainty are starting to, hedge all their bets on, hey, if we take a big brand IP that people know, it's a household name, people are going to show up for it. And we don't give it the, Marvel's Avengers, Crystal Dynamics treatment. And we actually put a lot of effort into crafting, world building, a bespoke experience for the video game player. People are going to show up for that and play it. I think Hogwarts Legacy is a proof of concept for that people will show up and play a game that's related to an IP that they really, really care about, and that's a blockbuster IP. And these companies, I think, are going to start doing this in droves. And I'm all for it if the games are going to be high quality. I mean, that Star Wars Outlaws game looks really good.
It does look really good, doesn't it? Yeah.
I bet this one's going to be good, too. I really do.
And I think you nailed it when you said, like, these companies are looking at uncertain times, or at least they believe that the times are uncertain in terms of their futures. And they want to make big games. And they want to make a lot of games, more games than they have been making. But then they run into this thing where it's like, do we try to bring back one of our own IP? Well, they're doing that. Like in EA's case, Dead Space is definitely an example of that. But they are also like, okay, well, we want to work on new stuff. And does that mean either make a new IP or go out there and license something? The investment to get a new IP off the ground is not that different than licensing a major IP like a Marvel brand or Star Wars. And so in the end, they decide, hey, let's just actually pay up, because that'll be easier and it's more of a sure thing, because a new IP could very easily tank it could easily not catch on. And so let's go with the safer route, which is, it turns out, going out and licensing Black Panther. In the meantime, hey, I think I'm pretty burnt out on MCU. I love those movies. I watched them.
I was done.
Yeah.
I think Guardians 3 is like kind of a good jumping off point for a lot of people. They're going to have to reel people back in. It's going to take a conscious effort on their part.
Yeah, but I mean, even in that world, I'm like, a good Black Panther video game could still be something that gets me paying attention.
No. Video
again.
games and MCU film are totally different. I think because a Black Panther game, I mean, that's based on the MCU films that we really, really care about, right? That goes back to phase 2, 3, 4, like whatever. If the more people that make video games about that stuff, I mean, just look at the Guardians game, right? I mean, Avengers, there were so many people, myself included, definitely one Greg Miller, that wanted that game to be successful and for it to be good. And unfortunately, they went like the Destiny clone route, and that just wasn't a good mix. But people are clamoring for some good Marvel games. They really are.
Yeah, and especially the big single player, big budget games.
I mean, look at Snap.
Yep.
Look at Snap. That's a card game.
Yes.
And that is doing gangbusters right now. I'm addicted to it. I've seen tweets from you from, the past, since the start of 2023 that you've been playing that game. I mean, people like Marvel and they like Marvel games, and that's here to stay.
This game, them announcing it this way definitely feels like the recent trend of developers announcing their projects so they can get talent. Now, this studio has been building up its talent. I mean, that's a big part of this reveal from Marvel.com here. But they can always use more senior developers on a project like this. They are calling them in. Black Panther is I can't remember how I originally said it, because I'm like, I think, is Black Panther going to come before the previously announced EA Iron Man game? I think that Iron Man's coming first and then Black Panther will come, but both these projects are still pretty far away, I think.
Please get good, not good, please get comparable voice actors to what we know from
is that the way to do it, or should they go with something like a different take on it?
No, don't do that. That did not work in Avengers. They got wise and they went out and paid the big bucks to get Christopher Judge, who voices Kratos in God of War, to be Black Panther in Avengers, and that worked amazingly. If that game had not already been dead, that would have been very successful. Go get Christopher Judge for this. I mean, he did a great job. It was different. So here's the thing. It needs to be different, right? But it needs to be different in a way that is of comparable significance, or like gravitas.
It still needs to be like what we want.
It can't be so different that there's like this uncanny valley of like Nolan North, amazing voice actor. Is he what I know as Tony Stark? No, I know, dude. Sure, yeah, dude. Like whatever, we can go like that. I know Robert Downey Jr. or somebody that talks with that type of cadence as Iron Man. So I think it pays well to play to people's expectations.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I know they want to do something unique and with creative differences and stuff, but there's nothing wrong with sort of, people having a sort of point of reference for things and being like, oh yeah, like that's, because there's this whole generation that has just grown up with, the MCU as it is. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't like you and me and didn't watch, Spider-Man from the 90s. Like, there's a lot of people that don't even know what that is. So, playing to the part of the IP that people really, really know and they like cherish, I think that's a good move.
Again, I'm 40, so I also remember the Spider-Man with the original theme. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Yes.
Spider-Man.
Right. Let's do this next story. United States District Court judge rules in favor of EA Sports college football game. This one comes from you. You helped me out with this story, so let's get into it. Judge Haywood Gillum Jr. struck down a request
That's
made.
A name.
Yes, that's a hell of a judge name. Haywood Gillum. I'm just a simple country judge. Haywood Gillum Jr.
Judge Haywood Gillum Jr.
He struck down a request made by the Brander Group for a temporary restraining order against EA in an opinion which was made public on Friday. The Brander Group is an agency for college athletes, which has purportedly become a leader in collegiate group licensing in that industry since 2021, when the NCAA permitted student athletes to be compensated for use of their name, image, and likeness, which is the NIL stuff that you might have heard about. The Brander Group filed a complaint in June, which alleges the defendant EA is interfering with its contractual relationship with certain colleges and their student athletes by soliciting athletes to participate in the upcoming EA Sports College Football video game. The complaint further argues that EA must negotiate directly with the Brander Group to use the name, image, and likenesses of college football players featured in the game, or to use the various logos, mascot, fight songs, etc. of featured college teams. The judge held that the Brander Group had failed to demonstrate that it is likely to suffer any immediate or irreparable harm if the restraining order, which would have prevented EA from negotiating with athletes and schools, is not granted. This one seems odd. That what seems like is that the Brander Group wants to be this middleman and hasn't necessarily proved that it is actually that. And EA is out there directly negotiating, and the Brander Group's like, that's illegal, which of course it wouldn't be, right?
So what happened here? There is it could be illegal. It probably also isn't, and the judge kind of talked about that. He was basically like, you guys cut it out. This is dumb. But this is parallels a lot to the FTC case that we broke down last time I was on the show, in that in both instances you have one party coming to, I think, the same federal district court, by the way, that Judge Corley is in.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Haywood Gillum Jr.
I suppose that's where the video game companies are, probably.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But no, you have one party coming and filing a complaint and saying, hey, somebody is out there doing something, and if they are allowed to continue doing it, harm is going to be caused. And so we're filing this complaint. And then in addition to this complaint, because the complaint initiates the lawsuit, right? And so you're going to try to win the lawsuit. In addition to this complaint, we're going to ask you for a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction. It can also be where we're saying to you that if you don't stop them right now, not a year and a half from now when we eventually win the case, if you don't step in, judge, and stop them right now, we're going to be irreparably harmed, cannot be repaired, such that even if we got a boatload of money at the end of this, you rule in our favor, judge, and EA's got to sign a big check because they were naughty, they should have gone through us, we're the agent that you have to talk to. Even if we get a boatload of money from EA, we're going to be so harmed that that's not gonna make up for it unless you step in and stop this right now. Going back to that parallel, the difference between this and the FTC trial is that the FTC as a government agency doesn't actually have to show that irreparable harm. They just have to show harm in general. So that's why there's like a lower barrier there. But as a private company, this Brander Group, as it's called, has to show the judge, for the judge to step in and stop it. Hey, if you don't step in and stop it right now, we're not going to be able to be made whole at the end of this. And what the judge basically decided, and he kind of like gave him a dressing down in this opinion. It was a bit of an interesting read for a legal nerd like myself. But he basically says, hey, you've done nothing to show me that what's going on here could not easily be settled or solved by you getting money. Like, not only do I not necessarily think that your case is very strong, because he goes into the fact that EA hasn't actually approached any athletes individually yet. They've only gone and talked to schools. And also, weirdly, this Brander Group, they don't, from my understanding, is that they don't go and sign the athletes themselves on an individual basis in the same way that you might expect. Like LeBron James, he has an agent, right?
And a lot of big NIL students have agents now.
Right.
Yes.
This Brander Group goes to like the school, like for instance, my University of South Carolina, Greg's Missouri Tigers. Sorry, I don't know where you're an alum from.
I didn't go to school. Fuck all that shit.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, screw it.
Yes.
Whatever. Stay in school, kids. But yeah, so they're just going to the schools themselves and saying, hey, we'd like to get into a contractual arrangement with you guys to represent your athletes as a group, as their agency, and then people will have to go through us. And so they're not even dealing with the athletes themselves on individual level. So this argument doesn't really hold a lot of water, and that they're saying, hey, judge, they're supposed to be talking to us. We're the agent. We're the middleman. They're not doing that. They're going and directly negotiating with the athletes. And the judge is like, A, they're not doing that. B, you don't necessarily represent the athletes directly anyway. You're in agreements with the school to maybe represent the athletes as a group. And finally, let's say that you're right and you end up proving that, yes, EA owes you money because you were supposed to get a cut of basically whatever they, end up agreeing to with the athletes and the schools. And they paid them money to use their logos and their fight songs and the mascot and their face. They do face scans or whatever it is. Their names, obviously. EA owes you a cut of that because you're their agent, and they never paid you because they never went through negotiations with you. I can rule in your favor at the end of this that you're going to get a check for that. There's no reason for me to step in and stop this, i.e. in the same way that, FTC wants the judge to step in and stop the Microsoft deal from closing. There's no reason for me to step in and stop this right now because you can just get money at the end of this and be made whole and it'll be fine. And frankly, I don't even really know that you've demonstrated a good argument that you even really deserve any money.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like, he talks about in the opinion, he says the plaintiff themselves admit in their complaint that the EA college football franchise has broad appeal and value because it's highly renowned and a lot of people play it and etc. And so students would want to be in the game. And he's like, all this is pointing towards that you just want to have a co-branding opportunity with these schools and these individuals. And you are, alleging that if you don't get a cut of that, if you don't get to make some sort of money off of that and negotiate for higher compensation for that, for the benefit of, yes, the schools and the athletes, but also yourself as the intermediary, that somehow is illegal. And I'm not really sure that I'm buying that. I'm definitely not going to step in and stop EA from making their game.
Right. That seems like they're asking for a whole bunch, without proving or even being ready to prove any sort of.
It's a high bar. It's a very high bar. To win the case is one thing. To get that check in the mail at the end of the day is one thing. But for them to say, judge, you need to step in and stop EA from talking. You're going to issue an injunction that says, EA, you will not talk to these athletes and enter into contracts with them for their the likeness and stuff to license them. And the schools, same way, until this matter has been litigated fully in court. To get that from a judge is a high bar. The only reason the FTC even stands a chance of doing that is the bar is a little bit lower for a government agency because they're the government and they don't really have to show like direct harm to the agency. They're more trying to showcase, okay, consumers, the market is going to be, detrimentally affected, that sort of thing. In a private action, the brander group has to come and say, I have standing. I'm going to be hurt, judge. You need to protect me. Woe is me. They're,
right, and you can
they're
see
treating me
why
poorly.
the barrier would need to be higher for that. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Real quick, Kirkland, I have an emergency over here I'm going to go deal with. I'll be back in like 30 seconds, everybody. Just 1 second.
Oh, yay. But yeah, so that's basically the deal with this. And as you can see, I'm a big NCAA football fan. Gosh, it's been, almost a decade since the last game came out. Super excited that there's going to be another one. I'm not really a big Madden fan, especially because of Ultimate Team. So I'm excited to jump into a new NCAA college football game. But yeah, basically the judge in this case said that, all the damages that might affect this agency would be totally, compensable through money, financial means, by a settlement or something like that. And all of their claims were speculative at best, especially in terms of showing irreparable harm. But really what it amounts to is this agency just wanted a cut of the money, and the judge wasn't really buying any of that. And he definitely wasn't buying it to the extent that he was going to stop EA from making moves to be able to bring a quality product in terms of having the athletes and the schools that they would want to have, and that we as gamers, although I know a lot of people don't play sports games, but I do, that we as gamers would want them to have, so that we get more quality EA college football games. So that's very good that that's not being halted or hindered in any respect.
All right. Let's see here. Let's move on to this next story. EA Sports UFC 5 officially announced, from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor.
Speaking of EA Sports.
Yes, a lot of EA Sports stuff. EA Sports UFC was released in 2020 and was met with fairly mixed reviews, but this isn't the typical annual EA franchise, and each new installation is more than just a current roster and new gimmick tacked on. This means we haven't had a proper sequel for 3 years, as development takes time, and therefore we are very pleased to inform you that we're about to get a new installation in this series. A short teaser was shared on Instagram during the weekend, announcing EA Sports UFC 5, which is getting a proper content reveal in September. I was always a Fight Night guy, at least for one of them.
I play UFC.
Okay, so you're UFC. Are you excited about this then? Is this striking your fancy?
I am, yes. And this gives me every reason I needed to go jump into UFC 4, which is available on Game Pass Ultimate. It was also available last year on PS Plus, so you listeners and viewers out there, you might have grabbed it. Check and see if it's in your PS Plus library. But yes, I have not played UFC 4 yet, so this gets me. Does that ever happen with you, Jeff? Like, does a new game get announced? You're like, oh yeah, I need to go play the one that was before that.
Yeah,
so yeah. This gets me hyped to go play.
I played a little bit of Street Fighter 5 when I was getting excited for Street Fighter 6.
Speaking of Street Fighter, so UFC 3, I became obsessed with UFC 3 for like a month. I really, really liked that game. It has an amazing career mode where you like start from the bottom. You're like doing entry level fights, and then you're working your way up, in your career to being like the best and competing for, world bantamweight and welterweight, whatever it is, titles, the belt for those. And it's got like A-list fighters. Like if you're on the women's side, Ronda Rousey was in that game. I think Amanda Nunes was in that game. For people that follow UFC, obviously Conor McGregor was in that game, so you get to fight Conor McGregor. And it's like a road to glory type of situation. And I thought that career mode was done a lot better than a lot of other EA Sports career modes, for that matter. But also, it's just a good career mode, like for a fighting game. And I think it puts UFC 3, and I'm sort of making an appeal to all the fighting game fans out there that aren't really, sports game fanatics by any respect. But UFC 3, I think, and UFC 4 might have followed up on this. UFC 3 has probably the best career mode. I don't want to speak out of hand, like somebody probably is going to bring up something in the comments.
Sure, but yeah.
The best career mode for any fighting game out there. And when Street Fighter 6 announced that they were going to have that world tour mode, I was really hoping for something more like UFC 3's career mode. But man, let me tell you, like, you work your way up, you have to train at like different gyms and learn from like different experts in like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, American style wrestling, all these different fighting styles. And it's almost like remember that game Absolver where you got to like make your own moveset? Like you can like do like, the right hook's different, and then your left kick, or you can do like a roundhouse kick, you can do a high kick. Like
sounds like you're building out your RPG character.
Yeah, you make your own moveset, and it's a fighting game where like you're making your own combos and stuff, and then you're working your way up. There's like a dumb social media aspect that's kind of fun where you're like talking trash to the person you're about to fight that week, like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out or whatever, and you get like likes, and it's like leveling up your RPG bar or whatever.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, nothing quite feels like when you work your way up and you're like about to reach icon status in that career mode, and you're gonna do your first title belt fight. And Bruce Buffer, who is the iconic announcer for UFC, is on that stage. The lights go low, and you're like, "Oh man, is this going to be a difficulty spike? What's about to happen? Am I going to be able to win?" Because if you lose the fight, like there's no restarting. Like you just gotta take it on the chin, pun intended. And the lights go down low, and he's.
It's catching you.
It's time.
The audio state, the noise suppressor's catching you.
5 rounds for the undisputed champion of the world. Sorry if that didn't come through.
Nope,
But
not at all.
it's an amazing feeling playing that game, and Street Fighter 6 kind of let me down in terms of the career mode being like very bare bones. So yeah, if somebody was looking for a really intensive fighting in career mode, go play one of those UFC games, UFC 3 or UFC 4. Like I said, UFC 4 is on Game Pass. But yeah, 5. It'll be interesting to see what they do with 5. I think 5 is the first like fully optimized next gen title that they're gonna have. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm always worried, like when because I was a big like Mario Golf and Mario Tennis fan from like Game Boy Color when they did the RPGs, and it's like ever since then I've been wanting them to do a campaign like that again, and it's like, oh man, they never actually do that. Do you have
Mario
faith that
Golf
UFC,
let me down.
Yes,
Mario
exactly,
Golf,
yes.
the new Mario Golf was like, and then the tennis one's all right.
Yeah, but
it's
even
kind of
that
like they
campaign
did.
wasn't very good, I don't think.
Yeah, they just kind of like copied the like Super Mario World, like the old Mario style of like I'm going from here to here to here on like the top down overworld map thing. They kind of like spoofed that a little bit, so that was like kind of cute. But yeah, the Mario Golf is like, hit 10 shots over the bunker or like whatever.
Yep.
You're just like, oh my god.
Well, but so do you think the UFC let's see, UFC 5, is that going to, you think, go back to the UFC 3 campaign, or you just kind of, you think maybe they won't actually be able to pull it off?
I think 4 is actually quite good as well. I think I looked at the IGN review before, because I haven't played it, unfortunately. I looked at the IGN review before we went live, and they said that the career mode was as good or maybe better. I think it delved a little more into that kind of annoying social media thing that like us as video game players are kind of like, all right, like I get it, like I get likes and yeah, whatever. I think it overdid that a little bit compared to 3, but in terms of the customization that we were talking about of like your different moves and learning different stuff, it's like you can like recruit different fighters to your gym and they can teach you different things. Like there's a lot of like kind of RPG-esque aspects like you were referring to, like you're building relationships, you're spoiling relationships by talking a lot of trash online against a fighter that you now can't learn his signature move from. Like there's a lot going on there that you don't see in like every sports game. It's a little more video gamified. So I think people that like fighting games would like pretty much any game in this series, and I would expect UFC 5 to continue. They've only been on an upward trajectory. Like UFC 4 was at least as good as, if not better than 3. So I think we can
taking their
expect
time
5
on these. That's good. Yes, that's going to lead to that sort of improvement too, I think. Yeah. All right, moving on. Square Enix says it's considering remastering more old titles following Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered success. This comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. Speaking recently as part of the company's 43rd annual shareholders meeting Q&A, Square's board was asked about the company's plans to remaster some of its older titles following the success of the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which was released earlier this year and also last year. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster has been well received. Are there plans to remaster other past titles? Personally, I would like to play Xenogears, asked one shareholder. A member of Square's board replied, "We will refrain from sharing information about new titles, but we are considering various ideas within the company and hope that you will look forward to forthcoming announcements." Square was also asked why the company has longer gaps between game releases than its peers do, and what the board's thoughts were on the planned release schedule for the upcoming major titles. I will refrain from speaking in specifics, but I will say that we believe that the strengthening of our internal development organization will be of benefit as the difficulty of developing major titles is becoming extremely high, which also has implications for development lead time. I wonder, Kirk, if this is something that they can replicate. The success of Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster on the Switch definitely really popped off. But it's Final Fantasy. I think if they go and do this with other franchises, they shouldn't expect a similar level of success. Although that's maybe not a reason not to do something like Xenogears. I think a lot of fans would be excited to see a return of some of those older RPGs. What do you think?
Well, I'm trying to make this a yes and for you. Are we talking about just like the pixel style remasters, or are we talking about any of their IP?
I think I think they mean more the idea of these compilations that get a little bit extra love instead of just throwing a bunch of games onto a disc. Just a little bit extra love. They don't, because like Square's got this whole spectrum of how they bring stuff back.
Oh
They have
boy,
Final Fantasy,
don't they?
yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake. They have the Crisis Core game that kind of is almost a remake because of the visuals are all replaced, but it's still the same game underneath. They have Trials of Mana that they kind of do a 3D remix of, and then they have HD 2D. They have all these opportunities to take something old and find a way, find a peg to put it into of how to bring it back. And one of those also is compilations of these older games. And I think that for some of these older ones, these compilations can make sense. But for something like Xenogears, that almost feels like it should be a little bit more like some of these older, bigger RPGs.
I don't even know what that is. I'm not old enough to know what Xenogears is.
That's kind of what I was expecting. It's all right, yeah. But it was like a relatively large RPG at the time that Final Fantasy VII was getting big, so it got like a rub from that game. And I think that there's a lot of a potential to bring something like that back. But
is Trials of Mana the one that is a third person kind of RPG? I think might be turn based. No, I think it's like a hack and slash, actually, like Kingdom Hearts. Is that the one that came out like 2-3 years ago? Was that a remake? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, yes. Like they did a relatively big remake of it a few years ago.
See, I like stuff like that. I know, we've got the Star Ocean Second Story R. Did I get that right?
That's
right.
The
Star Ocean Second Story R.
And that's doing like kind of almost HD 2D remake. Yes.
Dude, that graphic style looks amazing.
It looks very good. Yes.
And then we've got Live Alive was a Square Enix joint, right? Do I have that right as well?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and that's another HD 2D. And again, that style works so well that like,
yes,
I get not wanting to do the big Final Fantasy VII remake for anything except for basically Final Fantasy VII. Of course, they're working on, yeah.
You and Mike have been quoted by almost every outlet as to getting in to extensive detail about exactly how the Final Fantasy IX remaster is going to be, even though you were totally just speculating, and that was not confirmed exactly how the game is going to be. You've only confirmed that it's coming out.
But yeah, but like exactly, like, so it's like you can, like, even Final Fantasy IX probably not going to be a Final Fantasy VII remake, but it could be. It could be like that Trials of Mana game. So I think that's very likely.
I think there's two different sects that we've got going on here. Sects, SEC.
Everyone's going to hear what they want to hear, so have to deal with that.
Two different sects going on here. With you've got like the Live Alive, the Star Ocean, I remember was it Legend of Mana? I'm not sure, but it was the collection of the three that was really up the 2 HD Pixel Remaster that looked very good on Switch.
Either,
yeah. And then you've got the Trials of Mana one, which I bought. A lot of people forget Nier Replicant is a remake. It's a remake of Nier, they've got like these kind of big budget remakes that they're doing as well. Hopefully Final Fantasy IX is going to be in that vein. Obviously you've got the Final Fantasy remake trilogy. I think those cater to two very different audiences. And I would hope and encourage that they continue to play to both of those things. I think that they've shown that both of those showings can be very strong. When you look at something like Live Alive, I mean, like a Per Schneider is going to go crazy. Did I get his name right? I think I did.
Yeah, you did.
At IGN, I think. He's going to go crazy for that, and like I'm sure you enjoyed that as well. For me, that I have like a slight interest in something like that. Like, it looks cool. I'm interested in like learning about some video game history, experiencing some things. Gosh, would I go nuts for a Chrono Trigger remake, a remaster rather, as I'm sure everybody would.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't need to remake that one, right? Yeah, remasters is kind of.
The HD.
I'm afraid what they would do.
Right, that's
a
good one for it. That's a great one for that style. And then with with Final Fantasy VII, with Nier Replicant, with these other sort of big time Trials of Mana is another great example. Like, I bought that game because I was like, oh, this is like Nier. This is like Kingdom Hearts. This is like fine. It's a little more cartoony, obviously faithful to the original art style, kind of. But it's like this plays like a Kingdom Hearts or a Square game. Even Final Fantasy 16, it plays sort of like that, even if it stylistically looks different. It's faithful to that franchise. That's catering to a whole different audience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good. You want differentiation. You don't want to do Not to knock on Ubisoft. I'm a Ubisoft sympathizer. I'm an apologist. I really like Ubisoft games.
You will be
not
punished
to knock
for your crimes eventually.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we talk about that another time. But yeah, like you don't want to do the Ubisoft thing of like every game kind of has like similar mechanics and design to some extent. Like it all revolves around one core philosophy. If you've got like, SNES remasters and even just looking games, if they, Octopath is a great example of that. Games coming out of this, developer, and then you've got these other games that are, higher budget, more AA to AAA quality in terms of the near reboots, and the Final Fantasy remakes that hopefully are going to continue even after the 7 trilogy has concluded. I think that's great. I want to see both of those. I want to see them continue to do that. And I think that's why the shareholders asked them about it, because they want to see it too, because that means money.
Yes.
Because people like these. People like both of them.
And
I hope that
what's been successful for Square Enix right now as well. I mean, they've done
remakes in general, big boom for remakes and remasters.
But Square Enix has done a few games that were just either like reduxes, or they were like, hey, we're going to continue this franchise, and or they're taking old franchises and they're doing new spins on them and give them slightly different names. And we saw them release a lot of stuff last year, and not everything did well, but the stuff that did the best seems to be the things that had direct ties to those original games.
As Blessing says on Kind of Funny, Square Enix just be making games, man.
They do just
be making games. So games. They'd be making like 7 farming sim games, in a year. Definitely 18 RPGs in a given year. Yeah, and I'll probably buy like 5 of them and play like 1.
Yeah,
so they got me,
exactly right.
like I'm their target audience.
That's the strategy.
Just make more games. People will probably buy them. People love Square. They offer a very, like, what you're getting with a Square game, but like also you don't. And that's the fun of it. Like, what kind of Square game is this one gonna be?
Sometimes you get a
Is
Various
this a Bravely
Day
Default
Life.
2? Yeah, or is this a Various Day Life?
Yeah.
Oh my God. They also said in this shareholders meeting that they were going to do more crossover stuff, which I am particularly excited about. Square has such a wealth of amazing IP that like a lot of people care about. Some stuff that people just like forget about. But like they had Noctis in Tekken 7. Like that's awesome. They had 2B in Soul Calibur 5, I'm not sure, in a Soul Calibur game, and then she also has an operator skin in Rainbow Six Siege, which I totally bought, even though I don't necessarily play that game. I wish I hadn't done that. Bad spending decisions. And then Sora's in Smash, dude. Yeah. Like, yes.
Do you think
bring us more collabs?
That Sora in Smash and the Super Mario RPG coming back. Do you think that the more collabs means Super Mario RPG 2, and you should say yes because I need this?
Yes, Jeff.
Thank you, Kirkland. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Absolutely. Have me on the show again, please.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you keep telling me what I want to hear. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there will be 5 Super Mario RPGs for the next 10 years. They will continue to churn them out, and they'll all be 9 or above.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's hit this next story. Nintendo executives don't have enormous salaries. This comes from Marcus Persson, which I don't think is that Marcus Persson at Game Reactor.
Marcus A. Person.
Yes. Notch wrote at Game Reactor, how much money does the head of one of the world's largest gaming companies really earn? In a recently released quarterly report, we could see that Nintendo's top dog, Shuntaro Furukawa, leads the salary league with about $2.51 million in compensation per year. Close behind is Shigeru Miyamoto, whose annual salary is equivalent to $2.02 million. Certainly not unreasonable, especially when compared to other executives in the industry. If you look at the company's 2,700 employees, they are also pretty well compensated with an average annual salary of around $68,000, money that Nintendo hardly has any major problems paying out, given its war chest of revenue throughout the Switch era. $68,000 also, it's always worth pointing out, goes pretty far in Japan. Japan's got a relatively reasonable quality of life. What's the term for how much it costs to live? Cost of living.
That's just it is what it is, you know.
Hey, Kurt, how did they come up with that? What do you think?
I don't know. The cost of live. Yeah, that is some Socrates level wordsmithing.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
there.
But yeah, okay. This I first came to my attention because someone pointed out that Bobby Kotick makes $150 million per year, whereas
to just tell people there ain't no way I'm putting my games on Game Pass unless you forcibly buy me.
Yes.
And then I have to tell my shareholders that, like, yes, I'll do it. If they buy us, I'll do it, and I'll give you your $95 a share. Otherwise, ain't no way, dude.
Yep.
I'm only putting 2-year-old Call of Duties on PS Plus because otherwise I am raking in fat stacks of cash.
It's exactly what seems to be the motivation there is he gets paid. So fuck off everybody else. That is a bit offensive to me a little bit. $150 million for Bobby Kotick versus $2.5 million versus Shutentaro Furukawa.
See, but over there, the culture is different. They are auteurs. You look at a Miyamoto, a Kojima. These are masters in their craft. So I wonder if they were to take a bigger lion's share of the money, if that would almost like circumvent that.
Yeah,
in terms of like
what about
persona.
Hey Kirk? What about this? What if Bobby Kotick got less money? Let's go, man! I'm so pumped today.
Phil Spencer, do you think you can do anything about that? You think you can give Bobby Kotick less money? Put that money into Xbox exclusives, please. Can you do that?
A man could dream. I would. We'll see what happens. All right, let's hit a couple more stories. So we're gonna wrap this up soon. Sega is licensing an immensely popular IP for a new Web3 game. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Line Next has announced that it will team up with Sega and license an immensely popular IP for its blockchain gaming platform, GameDosi. Line Next is pleased to be teaming up with Sega to bring some exciting gaming to the Web3 space for gamers around the world, said Yongsoo Ko, CEO of Line Next. Through this partnership, GameDosi will provide Web3 content that anyone can easily enjoy, including Sega fans. That was the quote continuing there. It's unclear what license this is referring to. The company behind Sonic the Hedgehog is letting third-party partners create NFT games using some of its franchises, including Three Kingdoms and Virtua Fighter. But currently, it won't allow its biggest characters to be associated with the blockchain titles to avoid potentially devaluing its IP. And that's a story we talked about, I think, on Friday.
You talked about with Tam on Friday, yeah.
And here we are on Monday, and a Web3 NFT outfit is like, no, we are working with a big Sega IP. This,
I don't know how long you want to talk about this, but this is like a very weird thing to me. I when I was listening to Tam and you on Friday, I really started thinking about this, and I was like, I get it. These video game companies, especially the ones that aren't like the big bads like Activision and EA, they're just raking in cash. Sega's had a renaissance recently with their Atlas games, with their Like a Dragon properties. They're doing good right now, in terms of public perception, in terms of gamers feeling good about the games they're putting out. They're doing better than they've done in a long while. They're doing great. But in terms of like a business and their growth and their profit margins, they want to continue to increase that. They want to expand and get into the upper echelon of the game making and publishing industry. And so companies and corporations that are trying to do that are going to be trying to find cutting edge ways and strategies to implement to basically get there, to get to the tippy top. And they're going to try all sorts of innovative techniques and strategies. NFTs is obviously the one that they're trying to implement, but it's like, when you were trying to put forth a strategy on an innovative method to grow and to increase profits, you do it, you try, there's a level of trial and error, right? And if the public is, look at Deus Ex Mankind Divides augment your pre-order, right? Like when you do this, there's a trial and error to it of if the community at large says, no, we do not want that. That is a terrible idea, and we will not be supporting that, as is kind of the public perception around NFTs. They're environmentally unfriendly. They're just bad for a whole host of reasons, and they're controversial at the very least. When you kind of put that forth and you say, hey, we're going to be putting these in our A-list games that are coming out of our studios, and people are like, that's very bad. We don't want you to do that. It's very weird for you not to be like, okay, we're just trying stuff. We'll try something else. Instead, they're like, all right, well, we'll put them in our lesser known.
Put them in the shit we don't care about, like Virtua Fighter. Fuck you, Virtua Fighter.
That's dumb. But like, don't do that. Like, just I don't understand why they would do that. Like, we'll just do it on a lesser scale, even though we've totally found out that people don't want to don't want us to do this. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's the FOMO. It's them hedging their bets because they can tell by looking at reality that NFTs are probably not going to work and most people hate them. So they have that.
So just take them out. Just don't use them.
Right, but they have that one emotion, but then they have the other emotion of, but what if they become a thing and we missed out and now we're playing catch up and it's the biggest thing in the world and we've fallen behind. And it's
just give me more good games. Give me a series that has Ichiban Kasuga as the main antagonist that doesn't involve. Keep making Kiryu games, keep making Ichiban games. Give me more good games. Give me more Persona games, or give me more new IP from Atlas. We don't need this crap in our games. You guys are doing great over at Sega. Everybody loves you. Don't mess this up, man.
Yeah, but like who are they speaking to? A lot of times they're speaking to investors, and investors for a year straight, 2 years. How long was that dark period where all they would talk about is NFTs in the metaverse? They were hearing that over and over and over again, and they felt that they had to respond. Like some of these companies have the spine and the fortitude to be like, no, we're just going to keep making really good video games. That's what makes us a lot of money. And you could just stand over there with all your cute little opinions about NFTs. Sega has not been that company for a while. Maybe they're getting there. Feels like that comment on Friday sounded like they were getting there again and being like, you know what we believe in? Making kick-ass games. And now we're back here on Monday, and it feels like a 180. We'll see what this big IP is. If it's Virtua Fighter, well, that's right in line with what Sega said it would be. And I feel bad for Virtua Fighter. It should not be relegated to some C-tier franchise from Sega. But if that is the thing that takes the bullet so that the rest of Sega's lineup can avoid this stuff, oh well, thank you to Virtua Fighter. All right, we have the poll question from last week. Let's go ahead and bring that up. On Fridays, I asked, are you going to keep your Xbox Game Pass subscriptions for after the price increase? Is that the last one, or was that from Thursday? Now I feel like that one's from Thursday.
I'm not sure.
Well, let's just say 49% said yes, 33% said no, and 18% said I already locked in a year plus at the old price.
That's me. Yeah,
yes,
I definitely locked that in.
I feel like we did this one on Friday. Now I'm remembering going over this stuff. Okay. So you know what? Let's just get a new poll question ready to go here in a second. In the meantime, though, Kirkland, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you have going on? Tell them about your YouTube channel, all that stuff.
Okay. So, guys, I am Kirk the Gamer on YouTube. That's Kirk the Gamer. Our last show that we did, me and Jeff, got about 8,000 views just on YouTube.
That's right.
I am trying to get into some content creation and get some games ahead of time. I saw that as far as Final Fantasy 16, the minimum requirement for subscribers to get that game in hand early was 5,000 subscribers, which I do not have. Sad face. But if everybody that watched or listened to this went and subscribed to my channel, I would be able to get games like that early, give you my impressions of that type of stuff, make some great content for you guys, and you would basically change my life overnight because I would be able to do that. If you go over there and subscribe, I would really appreciate that because I really want to start doing stuff like that.
Make that hustle happen. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, I want these companies to give me games so that I can play them early and tell you if they're good or not, and give you some insights and stuff. I mean, you see me on here, I know some stuff. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. So go over there to Kirk the Gamer on YouTube. Give me a subscribe, please. I'd really appreciate it so that we can start making this thing happen. And like I said, you're going to make things different for me. If I get a bunch of subscribers over there, I'm going to be able to do so much stuff that I want to be able to do in the gaming coverage space. So I'd appreciate it.
Make that hustle happen. 100% conversion rate from viewers to subscribers to the YouTube channel.
Giant bomb, baby.
That's the way to make it happen.
They know what's up.
Okay, so in lieu of the poll from Friday, what we're going to do instead is, and I'll share this audio with you, is first I'll say what the poll is for tomorrow, and then we're going to watch a little bit of this new Twisted Metal trailer to see if we can find any vehicular combat in there from the TV show. The new poll is, are you excited for Black Panther from EA? Yes, no, simple. Easy. We'll talk about it on Wednesday on Game Mess
If that
Mornings.
doesn't win, then faith in EA is just at an all-time low.
And then let's see here. Let me see if I can get. I'm gonna share. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll share this with you real quick.
Speaking of EA, yeah, go subscribe to my YouTube so I can get some of that Immortals of Avium money that they're throwing around. You get a game. You get a game. Just everybody play this game, please.
Okay, let's bring it up here.
Oh my god, dude! You know, I really just wish that Samoa Joe had voiced this character. Will Arnett's voice coming out of him it's I don't know if it's working for me.
Peacock
it's
original.
It's Lego Batman, dude. Like Lego Batman's coming out of this clown's mask.
You know what? I'm gonna turn off the audio because we got dinged on this last time. But let's Kirk. All we gotta do is transform it by commenting on it. This looks like shit.
No, so start over.
We're not gonna watch this whole thing. It's 2 minutes. So I'm gonna
I've got to win the death race.
Okay, what's going on?
I've got some guns. I maybe love you, but I don't. I've gotta do the race and kill the clown guy.
This joke here, I think is funny. Everybody, I'd like to announce that I find a joke in Twisted Metal funny where it's like an apocalypse, and he's like trying to offer her toilet paper as payment, and she's like, I think I could do better in better than 2-ply toilet paper. He's like 3-ply. That's a funny joke, everybody.
Be so dumb.
We did it.
Oh my god.
We made me mind chuckle because I didn't actually laugh out loud. You all were watching, so I can't lie to you.
You better tell me what I want to know, or I'm gonna pull the trigger on this gun that I've got in your mouth right now.
All right, let's see.
There's explosions. I'm a cop in a post-apocalyptic world. Why are there cops here?
Hang on,
I don't know, but I'm gonna stop you. There's a ball pit for some reason.
Hey, look, there's actually some car combat. They actually fired a missile at it. Okay.
I'm a cop with a giant rocket launcher on top of my cop car. Police brutality. Anthony Mackie has 5 guns in his hands right now. I don't know why.
Listen, Anthony Mackie is it's Anthony 5-Gun Mackie. Everyone always knows that. He demands to have 5 guns.
Anthony 5-Gun Mackie.
Okay. I think we're gonna have to wrap this show up. Kirkland, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure. There was only about 10 seconds, if that, of car combat in that trailer.
Not even. Yes.
No face pressed up against the video poker screen though, and I'm okay with that. That made me viscerally uncomfortable in the first trailer.
I was getting kind of the heebie-jeebies from it as well. Everybody, thank you for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. We'll be back with the Bombcast tomorrow. We might have some more stuff. Look out for it. We'll put out the calendar here in a little bit so you guys can see what's going to be happening the rest of this week. We'll try to get back on a normal schedule for Blight Club. We'll try to get back on a normal schedule for Four Swords Fiesta. And then we'll probably start launching some new stuff here pretty soon now that things are kind of starting to settle back into place. But
go check out that Blight Club. Jeff was stuck on the very first platform for I think like 10 whole minutes, and then there was just this ambience in the background of these wolves that were like, ah! And like Jeff is like trying to like jump on the next platform.
Wait, which game was this?
I don't remember. It was the most recent Blight Club that you were doing.
Well, we played like 15 games in that Blight Club though. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, it was hilarious. Like Mike and them like really put you through it.
Oh, perfect weapon. That's right. That's what. Yes. Man, good memory, Sean. Yes.
You figured out what the jump was about 5 minutes in because it did not tell you what you were supposed to be doing.
I think it was a context-sensitive jump. I don't think it only jumps when you are at a place where you can jump.
And you like went up to the cliff edge and he's like, no, I can't do that. Like he's got like the voiceover. No, I can't do that. Not happening. No, I can't do that.
I should make Dan play that for an actual Blight Club. We'll see. All right, everybody. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube. All right, man. That was awesome. We got to actually talk about